The 10th film in the franchise, and the third to star Roger Moore as the suave British agent 007, The Spy Who Loved Me was directed by Lewis Gilbert, who prior to this also helmed You Only Live Twice, and would later go on to direct Moonraker. If you watch these three films, you might notice that they all have an epic scope that goes above and beyond the call of the series. There were a lot of issues that held up the production of this installment, namely the departure of Harry Saltzman as producer, as well as a legal dispute with Kevin McClory regarding past story elements. If you recall, McClory owned the rights to the film Thunderball, and somehow owned the character Blofeld, as well as the Spectre organization. They also had a hard time finding a director. Legend has it that Steven Spielberg was originally approached, but was held back because he was filming Jaws. You know, that little shark movie that no one talks about, sarcasm. Apparently they also approached Guy Hamilton, who helmed Goldfinger. Hamilton turned it down because he was given an opportunity to direct the Superman movie, and as most of us know, that deal fell through. So anyway, enough of the history lesson, let's get on with Bond 10. The story starts off when somehow a British and a Soviet sub vanish. The luscious Soviet agent, Anya Amasova, also known as Triple X, how fitting, is sent to investigate while her boyfriend is sent out to kill Bond. That's Walter Gotell as General Gogol, who also played a Spectre operative in From Russia with Love. So during another ski slope chase, gotta love that 70s style rendition of the Bond theme, Bond evades the Soviets and actually kills Anya's lover. Bond dives off of a cliff as his parachute opens to reveal the Union flag, causing hundreds of Brits in the audience to lose their little limey minds. We meet the main villain, an old guy with aspirations of dominating the world, a Blofeld knockoff named Karl Stromberg. Look, he even has the same death traps as Blofeld, feeding his secretary to the sharks.
You know, I have one simple request, and that is to have sharks with frickin' laser beams attached to their heads.
The view of the sea is taken directly from Dr. No's underwater lair, and his plans involve pitting the Russians against the Soviets. Again. This guy took a few notes from Spectre. Oh, and he also blows up a helicopter, which was taken right from Diamonds Are Forever. I guess what I'm getting at is, they were running out of ideas. Well, they do have one original idea here, Jaws. Think about this for a minute. Originally, they planned on hiring Steven Spielberg to direct this film, but refrained because he was directing a shark movie called Jaws. I guess they knew the movie would be a mega success all along. Jaws is played by Richard Kiel.
That's two, that's far, shooter.
Oh, you can count. Good for you.
And you can count on me waiting for you in the parking lot.
He is hands down one of the most memorable Bond villains in the series, owing a lot to his height and those metal teeth of his. Jaws doesn't fuck around, unless you count all the times Bond evades him. So what we learn is that someone is selling Stromberg's plans for a submarine tracker to competitors. MI6 sends Bond to Egypt to investigate. James once again falls for the fatal charm of a gorgeous woman when he gets ambushed by this man. White odd job. James goes to rendezvous with Agent Anya during some Egyptian entertainment and follows a man into the shadowy depths. The man gets attacked and bitten by Jaws, who escapes into the nether regions apparently. Bond gets attacked by a few random thugs and finally meets Anya face to face. Bond then goes to the club of the spinning, dancing mushrooms, where he meets Anya and her assistant to discuss the submarine tracker plans, when Jaws shows up to kill again. Jaws dresses up as a plumber's assistant and drives clear across the desert, with James and Anya in tow. That's right, James, put the moves on her. You only killed her boyfriend, for Christ's sakes. They track Jaws to an abandoned alley where he gets the drop on them. Jaws is literally Superman. Let's put it this way. Here's the van before they meet Jaws, and here's the van afterwards. You can watch the film for all the details, but there's a reason why he's a memorable villain. After wandering in the desert, Anya and James board a boat where they start to fall for each other when Anya puts him out with a cigarette. He wakes up and finds, what a shock, she stole the plans. Bond heads for an Egyptian temple where he finds that M and Anya's boss, Gogol, have joined forces, making the last scene pretty pointless. Q analyzes the tracker plans and sends Bond and Anya to Stromberg's base in Sardinia. They board a train when, come on, seriously, how many times have we really seen this scene played out? Jaws attacks Bond, and Bond once again shoves him out the window. But it turns out that Jaws is alive and well. And just to prove what a tough guy he is, he actually straightens his tie. What a sport. I love this cat and mouse game that constantly pervades the film. This is honestly the first villain in the series who simply won't let up. He's literally like a shark that's tagged its prey. They meet Q by the docks where we get another memorable gadget, the Lotus Esprit. This thing is just a kick-ass ride. It screams everything we've come to know and love about a Bond film.
Now pay attention, 007. I want you to take great care of this equipment. There are one or two rather special accessories.
Q, have I ever let you down?
Frequently.
There hasn't been a vehicle this awesome since the Aston Martin in Goldfinger. So James meets Stromberg's personal pilot, Naomi.
I'd buy that for $1.
They go to Stromberg's base, the Atlantis, where Stromberg reveals his plans for a supertanker. Of course, Stromberg knows it's James Bond the whole time, and sends Joss to kill him once again. Now here's the biggest, most action-packed scene of the whole film, and quite possibly the best action scene we've seen in the series thus far. First, Bond is pursued in the Lotus by a few henchmen. They fly off cliffs like dumbasses, you know, standard Bond stuff. Of course, Joss simply walks away from the accident. Next, they get pursued by Naomi in her helicopter, forcing Bond to drive off of a pier. The fucking Lotus transforms into a submarine, like it's the Gadget Mobile. Naomi has them in her sights when James fires a missile at her from underwater. Bam! Blew that bitch away. They peek in on Stromberg's base once again, and then get pursued by deep-sea divers. Ever played the game Critical Depth on the PlayStation? Well, anyway. So here's one of the funnier scenes. The Lotus emerges on the beach, and a random drunkard actually inspects his bottle as James drives off. Now that's classic Bond for you. Bond and Anya go to their hotel suite when Anya finds out, and come on, who didn't see this one coming, that Bond killed her former lover.
It was either him or me. The answer to the question is yes. I did kill him.
Then, when this mission is over, I will kill you.
Ouch. That stings. He was snogging the enemy the whole time. While giving him the cold shoulder, Anya boards an American submarine with James, where they find that Stromberg has indeed been controlling the submarine tracker. They get ambushed by Stromberg's tanker, where Stromberg, in typical James Bond fashion, reveals his plans to launch a nuclear attack against New York and Moscow, starting World War III, and eventually forcing civilization to begin anew. But seriously, that plan has never panned out. You would think by now the bad guys would simply lower their ambitions, hold a country for ransom or something. You're going to die in a year anyway, old man. Stromberg kidnaps Anya and jets away from the scene while Bond rescues the crews aboard Stromberg's ship. He reprograms Stromberg's submarines to fire their missiles at each other as the crew pilots the submarine away from the ship. Naturally, the ship goes up in a glorified explosion. Bond gets a hold of a jet ski and heads once again for Stromberg's base, where he easily evades Stromberg's shark trap and shoots the old fart. Jaws shows up and the two duke it out in a final confrontation. Bond gets the upper hand, using a powerful magnet to drop him into the shark tank.
Take a bite out of crime.
So yes, after all that, Bond finds Anya, the two escape to safety, Jaws swims away to live another day, and Anya forgives Bond for killing her lover and pays him back by appeasing his sexual urges. I can relate to that ending completely, and I'm a big fat ass. So what's my verdict? Well, if you haven't guessed already or looked it up on Wikipedia, this one's considered one of the pinnacle entries in the series, and definitely the best one to star Roger Moore as the character. While I feel it's definitely a good installment, my main problem with it is just how much it borrows from past Bond flicks. As the films went on, they just started to recycle the same stories. Don't get me wrong, I know movies like this have to follow specific calculated formulas to remain profitable, and to be honest, if you've never seen a Bond film before, this would be a good one to start out with, because it blends everything together and balances a fairly complex plot with some really good action scenes. It has your typical extortionist Spectre-like villain, as well as the comic book nature Jaws, and the Lotus, again, is just awesome. For some reason, it doesn't stand out like Man with a Golden Gun, and I know I'm probably in the minority by saying that, but it's still a pretty solid flick, and actually one of the last really memorable Bond films for a long time.